Alright, so today we're going to be talking about Twitter. Twitter is a social media platform that lets you post tweets up to 280 characters long. This limiting factor forces people to be more impactful with every word, since they don't get many. However, this becomes a problem when trying to discuss a serious and nuanced topic, since the users are now forced to compress their complicated ideas into shorter, bite-sized takes. However, there is an innate power to shorter statements because they're easier to remember. I'll use this conversation as an example. Notice how this conversation flows. It begins with an opinion on Haxx's ban statement that opens the door for legitimate conversation. Then someone comes in with a statement that is short but wrong. There is a response correcting and explaining why he is wrong, then another statement that is, again, short and faulty, then a response refuting him. Now it may look to us that these people in support of the ban don't even know what they are talking about. They aren't even making arguments, they're just regurgitating talking points from top figures that share their opinions. However, the reason this style of argument is effective despite literally spewing out false information is because of a few things. Number one, stamina. It takes far less energy to write a short and punchy statement than it is to go through the trouble of thoroughly correcting it. And if you don't go through the trouble to correct them, it must be because they're right. This allows these false talking points to outlast the truth long term, since nobody will want to go through the trouble to correct them for the 100th time. Number two, digestibility. It is far easier to both understand and speak with bullet points rather than paragraphs. They are easier to repeat, and this causes them to spread around the community far easier and form narratives. Number three is posture. We'll talk about this in a later video, but in short, if you look like you're winning, you can convince more people that you are, even if the things you are saying are false. A person making quick and snappy accusations sounds like they're in the driver's seat, while the person giving the lengthy explanations is always on the defensive. Now this manner of arguing exists everywhere, ranging from the playful arguments you have with your friends about TV shows to actual politicians. It's not just on Twitter that this occurs, however, because Twitter forces you to write concise messages, it promotes this manner of arguing more than any other social media platform. If you are limited to only 280 characters, why make a nuanced take when you can make a simpler take and still get your message across? It doesn't actually matter if it's right or wrong, but so long as it's punchy and quippy, more people will be able to recite your opinion. And we already know, narratives spread through repetition, and it is much easier to spread a shorter take rather than a long explanation for why it's right or wrong. Notice how all the anti-Haxx arguments are all short and quippy statements. They are either ad hominem attacks, or they are extremely broad blanket statements that are technically true, but only if you strip away all of the context that shows how dishonest they really are.
The tension is like the engine that feeds people like this Keemstar fellow.
Also notice that whenever they try to give a detailed explanation for their positions, it collapses. The reason for this is that their opinions can't stand on their own 2 feet. They have to be presented in a way that makes them look correct, but when challenged, they simply fall apart. These arguments are repeated not only to establish a narrative, but because they need to be repeated. The words matter less than the way they are delivered because the words themselves are untrue. So what is the best way to counter this style? Well, the best way is to ignore them, which makes sense. If they force you to play defense, you don't have to play. The issue is that by putting up no resistance, they will spread their rhetoric across the community before the truth does. If you do choose to engage with these people, use the Socratic method and be patient. When they give a short and punchy statement that you know is wrong, challenge them on it. If they say something like, I don't know, Technical's video on Jisoo isn't true, ask them why it isn't true. Most people that argue like this do so because they don't actually know what they're talking about and just repeat talking points from their favorite figures, see previous video. By challenging their claim, you have forced them to, you guessed it, play defense. Because their arguments aren't based on truth, they will embarrass themselves with their own statements. If you want to win against these people who spew out regurgitated talking points, never play defense. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys next time.